There's a family in Ohio that pulls in about the same money as your average American household, maybe even less. No college degrees, no high-powered careers, no side hustles running in the background while they sleep. And yet, by the end of the year, they've quietly set aside close to $50,000. No bank account, no credit cards, no 401k, no stock market, no investing app blinking on a phone, because there is no phone. Same country as you, same grocery prices, more or less. Same gas, same lumber, same cost for a gallon of milk. And somehow there's a pile of money at the end of the year that most six-figure families never manage to build. These are the Amish. And before you wave this off and say, well, of course, they live like it's the 1700s, stay with me. Because what they're actually doing has almost nothing to do with horses and buggies, and almost everything to do with a handful of money rules that you could borrow starting tomorrow, phone and all. I'm going to show you the exact system. Not the religion, not the bonnets, not the candlelight, the money part. The part that works whether you're Amish or you're watching this on a device they'd never allow in the house. So let's clear a few things up first, because this is where most people check out. This is not about earning a fortune. Plenty of Amish families live on what we'd call a modest income, some years a working class one. The saving doesn't come from a big number coming in. It's not about being religious or rural or giving up electricity. You can keep your lights, your car, your smartphone, and still use almost every piece of this. And it's definitely not about some secret investment. There's no clever account here, no tax loophole. In fact, by the standards of every finance channel out there, the Amish do everything wrong. No compounding, no market, no leverage. So how does a family with an ordinary income and zero of the usual tools end up outsaving people who earn 3 times as much? It comes down to something most of us never even think to question. It's not how much they make. It's how little leaks out. Let me paint you the picture, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Start with the biggest one: debt. The Amish, as a rule, don't borrow the way the rest of us do. When a young couple needs a house or a barn, the community often helps build it, and any money owed is frequently lent within the community, sometimes at little or no interest. Think about what that quietly removes. No mortgage interest, no car loan interest, no credit card interest stacking up at 20-something% in the background. For the average American family, interest payments alone can eat tens of thousands of dollars over the years. The Amish simply don't feed that machine. Every dollar that would have gone to a bank stays in the family instead. That one habit, all on its own, is worth more than most raises. Next, they buy almost everything with cash, and only what they can actually afford right now. No financing the truck, no buy now, pay later on the furniture. If the money isn't there, the thing waits. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but paying cash does something sneaky to your brain. It hurts a little. You feel the money leave, and that small sting quietly stops 100 purchases a year that you'd never even notice swiping a card. The Amish aren't fighting temptation with willpower. They've just set up a life where the easy, default choice is the cheap one. Then there's the way they handle the big stuff: insurance, medical bills, disasters. Instead of every family paying a company every month, many Amish communities pool their own money and take care of each other directly when something goes wrong.
So instead of premiums flowing out the door to an insurance company year after year, whether or not anyone gets sick, the money stays inside the community and only moves when it's truly needed. No middleman taking a cut of every dollar of protection. Now, you and I can't exactly opt out of the whole system, but the principle underneath it is something you can absolutely use, and I'll come back to it. Here's another one that's easy to miss. They buy things that last, and then they keep them. A good tool is expected to outlive the person who bought it. Furniture gets passed down, clothes get mended. A wagon, a stove, a set of dishes, these aren't disposable. Compare that to the way most of us live, replacing phones every 2 years, furniture every 5, a car the moment the new model comes out. The Amish family buys once and buys well. Over a lifetime, that difference is staggering. And then there's the part almost nobody talks about: skills instead of services.
The average American pays for a long list of things other people do. We pay someone to fix the sink, to cut the hair, to change the oil, to grow the food, to cook the food, to watch the kids, to repair the fence. Each one is a small bill. Together, they're an enormous slice of every paycheck. In an Amish community, a huge amount of that is handled in-house or by a neighbor, often traded rather than paid for. They grow a lot of what they eat. They fix what breaks. They build for each other. Money that would have flowed out to a dozen different businesses just never leaves. Now let me tell you why all of this actually works, because there are really three forces underneath it, and once you see them, the whole thing clicks. The first force is the one we already touched. They've plugged the leaks. Most families don't have an income problem. They have a leak problem. Interest, fees, premiums, financing, constant replacements, paying for every little service.
None of it feels huge in the moment. All of it together is a slow flood out the back door. The Amish bailed every one of those leaks. And suddenly, an ordinary income holds a lot more water. The second force is the quieter one, and honestly, it might be the real secret. There's no one around them to keep up with. In most of our lives, the pressure to spend isn't really about need. It's about the neighbor's new car, the coworker's vacation, the feed full of people with nicer things. We spend to keep pace, usually without admitting it. In an Amish community, the entire culture pushes the other way. Plain is the point. Standing out by spending more isn't admired, it's frowned on. So the invisible tax that the rest of us pay, the one for looking the part, simply isn't there. Imagine how much you'd save if nobody around you was ever trying to impress anybody. The third force is redundancy.
Because so many people in the community can build, grow, fix, and help, an emergency that would wipe out a normal family's savings often gets absorbed by 100 willing hands instead of a credit card. The barn burns down, the neighbors rebuild it. Someone gets hurt, the community covers it. They've replaced a wall of expensive financial products with something older and tougher: each other. And here's what that actually looks like in real dollars, so it stops feeling abstract. Take a normal family earning $60,000 a year. Strip out the credit card interest, and that's a few thousand right there. Drop the financing on the cars and buy used with cash, a few thousand more. Pool the protection you can instead of paying premiums on everything. Replace half your paid services with skills. Stop replacing things that didn't need replacing. None of those numbers is dramatic on its own, but stacked together on an ordinary income, they can quietly free up $10, $20, even $30,000 in a single year. That's not a math trick or a clever investment. That's just what's left over when you stop letting it leak out the back door. Now here's the trap. The reason most people hear all this, nod along, and change absolutely nothing. It's easy to tell yourself this only works if you go all the way. Sell the car, ditch the phone, move to the country, join the community. And since you're obviously not going to do that, you let yourself off the hook entirely. But that's the mistake. You don't need the whole life. You just need the rules. So let's talk about what you can actually do, starting this week, without changing your religion or your zip code. First, declare war on interest. This is the big one. Attack the highest rate debt you have, the credit cards especially, like your future depends on it, because it quietly does. Every dollar of interest you kill is a dollar that now works for you instead of a bank. This single move is the closest thing you have to becoming Amish overnight. Second, go cash, or as close as you can get. You don't have to give up your cards completely, but for the spending that gets away from you, the food, the impulse buys, the little stuff, try using actual cash for a month. Feel the money leave. Watch how much less disappears when it stings a little. Third, buy at once. Before your next purchase, ask a simple question. Can I buy the version of this that lasts 10 years instead of 2? It costs more today and far less over a lifetime. Stop renting your stuff from the replacement cycle. Fourth, Learn one skill you currently pay for. Just one, to start. Cooking instead of takeout, basic home repairs, a simple oil change, cutting the kids' hair. Each skill you bring in-house is a bill that stops repeating for the rest of your life. And fifth, build your own little community. This is the one people skip, and it's the most powerful. Find a few people you trust and start trading instead of paying. You fix their computer, they watch your kids. You cook, they handle the yard. Share the expensive tools instead of everyone buying their own. The Amish don't save alone, and neither should you. Let me leave you with the thing underneath all of it, the part I really hope sticks. The Amish aren't rich because they found a clever way to get more. They're rich because, somewhere along the way, they decided what counts as enough, and then they stopped. That's the whole thing. The rest of us live on a treadmill where the finish line moves every time we get close to it. A raise becomes a nicer car. A bonus becomes a bigger house. There is no amount that ever feels like enough, so the saving never really starts. The Amish drew a line. This is enough. And everything past that line, instead of becoming more stuff, becomes freedom. They have a word for the spirit behind it. Gelassenheit. It roughly means a kind of calm, a letting go, a contentment with what you have. It's not about having little. It's about being done wanting more. You don't have to sell your car or unplug your life to use that. You just have to decide, on purpose, where your enough is. Because the family in Ohio with no bank account figured out something most millionaires never do. The goal was never to have more. The goal was to need less. And the day you really understand that, you get rich in the only way that actually lasts.